Hi, I'm here with Jane Turner and we're talking today about self-awareness and stepping into the person that you want to be. So yeah. Go ahead.
Thanks, Sharon. Look, this all came to a bit of a head for me back in 2014 when I was writing my first book, Thrive in Midlife. And unconsciously, or it became conscious at one stage, I realised that I was wanting to write a better story than my own.
Your life.
And in particular, Thrive in Midlife was all about the difference I could make to myself in terms of having hit a wall with menopause, struggling with the, really obvious symptoms and some of the not so obvious symptoms. And I thought, well, look, if I really take good care of myself, if I look after my diet, exercise, stress management, mindset, then I want to see how much better I can feel without going anywhere near any, hormone replacement therapy or whatever. The agenda in the background for me, though, that I can now see, I didn't in the beginning, was to solve a big problem that I'd lived with for most of my life, and that was binge eating disorder. Mm-hmm. So I thought, look, if I'm going to be out there, putting myself out there, then I feel okay about saying that I had a problem with binge eating disorder, but I didn't feel okay about talking about it in the present tense. So I was all about pushing myself into a corner where I had to solve it, finally.
So you had to be fixed before you
had to be fixed. And can you imagine how stressed I was as my deadlines were looming? In fact, I was binging worse than ever because that was my technique for numbing myself and numbing that really uncomfortable feeling of vulnerability and going to be found out. So, I had talked myself into the fact that this was going to be enough pressure for me to actually get that result that I would be happy to be talking about. So as I say, I wanted a better story.
That's really interesting.
And we can, the history is there to be seen now because, of course, as my deadlines came and went, and I really did have one that I had to live to, and that had to do with running out of money, I just had this blinding moment of insight about what if that's not really what it's all about. Mm-hmm. What if what it's all about is saying to people, you're okay, I'm okay, no matter what's going on. The minute that was the story, and that was the purpose of writing the book, the rest just flowed.
And that's very interesting because I think we've all got that in us. I've been talking to you this morning about how I've been feeling recently, and if I was writing a chapter of my book at the moment, it would be about pushing through my boundaries and being, stuck in the old energy and not feeling good enough and not being, because I've just lost 25 kilos, not wanting to be in front of the camera until I had lost my weight because my thyroid, I felt that I couldn't be the healer or the expert in what I do and own a magazine if I've got a health issue. So I think that this is something that is in so many people in so many ways.
Yeah, and aren't definitions wonderful too, because you called it an issue. Well, it was only an issue to you.
Yeah. Well, nobody else saw it.
This was what was so interesting too, because my big issue, binge eating disorder, was so wrapped up in shame and so spelt not good enough to me.
Same.
That, do you know what the most amazing thing of all was? When I put it out there, nobody cared. Not only did nobody think less of me, it wasn't even interesting enough really to talk about. I kept expecting to be asked about it. And, writing the book actually took me to all sorts of weird and wonderful places, such as being profiled in a magazine, I've just been on the Today Extra program. I've been on the telly last week. I've been on radio.
You're on Global Healing Exchange.
Global Healing Exchange, which is probably my most proud achievement. But the first major bit of publicity I got from the book was in the Australian Women's Weekly. And I can see it now, page 82 of the April issue, April 2016 of the Australian Women's Weekly. In the first chapter, on the right-hand side of that page, it says to help her solve the problem of binge eating disorder. And I remember thinking, what are people going to ask me about this? And nada, nothing. Mm-hmm. And I know people read that. Yeah. I was getting emails about, oh look, how great that you didn't use HRT and all sorts of other aspects of my story. Zip on binge eating. Mm-hmm. I think this is fabulous. Now that I know this, whoa! And this is what I love so much too about the fact that I now run book writing workshops for that very reason. Mm-hmm. Because if you can own your story and stare your demons down and write them out. Mm-hmm. We know that writing is incredibly healing. It doesn't mean that you have to write it and publish it and put it out to the world, but my clients do that, and they build businesses on the basis of A, that they're published authors, because we know of the halo effect of being a published author, but also B, because of the people they become. Mm-hmm. For me, I'm, reaping all sorts of benefits. Yes, from being a published author, but B, from the freedom, the embodiment, the meanness that I now own, mm-hmm. that I now proudly own, warts and all. And if that's the message that I can get out into the world, then that's a really, really good job I've done, I reckon.
So what do you think changed in your mindset from feeling not good enough and not wanting to tell your story to feeling like you are now? Because I can see now that you're ready to go, you want to help other people, you're feeling confident in yourself, you're very self-aware. So what was that change within you? Do you remember?
Oh, look, it was about talking it out with myself. Actually, for some people it's probably writing it out, other people thinking it out. For me it was talking it out. It was saying, look, what's going on here? Mm-hmm. What's going on? Why are you binging worse than ever? Why are you fearful of the deadline? What is it that you don't want to happen? Mm-hmm. And the don't want to happen is being exposed and seen for not being perfect. Mm-hmm. In people's own books, the not being perfect will look a different way. But the being perfect looks, the actual being perfect looks the same way for everybody. And the way that looks is when you own your story. You live, I'm living the Janeness of being Jane.
Yeah. As only you can.
As only I can.
You
That's right.
started off this saying that you wanted to write a different story, but you can only ever write your own story because you only ever know your own story. Yeah. Yeah. We can talk to others and get an understanding of their life, but to really write a true story about your feelings and what's going on the inside, you can only ever write about yourself. That's
it, yes. So we started by saying that this was about self-awareness, and that's exactly what it is. It's about very, very regularly. I've got now a little ritual that I do, the way I run my life, is throughout the day I'll stop between activities and just go, how am I? Mm-hmm. How am I feeling? Mm-hmm. Just it's a nanosecond, it's barely noticeable, but it's a moment of checking in. Mm-hmm. And and there are times when I go, I don't know, what is it? And then I just sit and what is it? Mm-hmm. What is it? Mm-hmm.
That's good. And I think that's a really nice tip to leave people on. Is you can set your phone to go off.
Oh, you could. Yes.
To say,
Yes.
right, this is the moment each day, or 5 times a day, or whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
How are you feeling?
Whatever.
How are you feeling right now? Because that will help with your self-awareness of how you are in that moment. And if you're feeling good, great, do more of whatever you're doing.
That's it.
If you're not
Yeah.
feeling so good, find
Yeah.
out what
Yeah.
that is and what you need to change in order to feel good.
And the best time to
better.
do it, the one time where you really do want to do it is just before you go to bed. You'll sleep better.
Yeah.
You know, it might take you longer to get into bed because you're interrogating that whatever it is that's not feeling okay. But when you do finally get into bed, it'll be a much more restful sleep.
And we all know when we push through those boundaries, we feel so much joy or ecstasy or whatever at the end of it.
Calm.
Because
For me, it's
we've
that
spent
calm.
so many years in that box holding on to this negative energy of I can't do, and I'm so stuck. And when you break through that, all you have is freedom and calm.
Beautiful.
It's beautiful.
Indeed. Yes.
Cool. So if anyone wants to find you, Jane, where will they find you?
Yes. Well, I'm at wellnesscoachingcollective.com, and if you want to find me specifically for the purpose of writing your book, you'll find me at writewithjane.com. But either one, you'll find me.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Jane.
Thanks, Sharon.